be useful for us to now hear from a couple of special guests who themselves have moved from Hong Kong to Bristol and Swindon. But before I invite them up, and I'm just going to put some chairs out, I thought we'd watch a short video of a community, and you've probably heard about them, Hazelnut, but a community that formed during COVID, and I was talking to John, totally unexpected, did not expect the community to grow as it has, but that's how God works, and it's a wonderful picture of new communities being birthed in our diocese. Here we go.
Hi, so I'm John. I run Hazelnut Community Farm. I started the idea a number of years ago from visiting a community farm and thought this is what the church should look like. And we've really been growing. It's been really exciting.
Hazelnut Farm is a really brilliant part of this whole area here. So we have the Upper Hallfield Community Trust on the same site, which has done so much for so many people over the past decades. It's really lovely to have Hazelnut as part of this, and I hope that we can continue to work together on this beautiful site.
我會識到好多朋友啦，同埋會有一啲共同經歷。咁呢啲經歷其實會俾到自己安全感同埋溫暖感。
I love coming along to an open space rather than a building. I love all the mixture of people who come along. I really like growing things and seeing how the plants progress through their growing life, and I like harvesting.
It's definitely more than a garden, it's more of a community.
呢個地方有好多嘢玩，可以嚟呢度踢波啊，有好多嘢做咯，好玩、好食同埋好大。
There's such a hunger, I think, for people to connect with land, especially in urban spaces where things are so built up. I love that we are trying to put at the centre of everything we do that God is the loving creator, and we're trying to find new ways as community and as a church as to what that really means in the way we worship and try and serve the community.
So I love the people and the community, but I also love the space and being peaceful. We all care about the climate emergency here. It matters here. For me, this is just the best way of church that I found.
It's a safe place for people to meet, and we meet people from all over the world here, which is very nice.
我好希望可以繼續享受呢塊土地啦，一個暫時忘卻煩囂嘅一個地方，去享受大自然嘅變化。
I love all the work they've done to build a community on this site. We recently had an open day where we had over 500 people, and it really shows that the value that everyone really places on this site and how we need to make sure that we save this for future communities.
Unfortunately, John couldn't be with us tonight, but you get a gist from the video. But one of the things he said was, this community has found a vibrancy, and it's over something that's dear to our diocese, which is creation care. So again, think outside the box, think of creative ways in which people can work together. And, we believe and trust the Holy Spirit is what connects people and creates that intimacy and moves hearts and brings people together. But I'm just going to invite Andy, David, Candy, and yes, if you come forward. And Andy's now just going to lead us in a discussion for some of our friends to share some of their experiences. And just to warn you, I have asked them to be brutally honest with us about their experiences so that we can learn. So Andy, I'll pass over to you first.
Thank you very much, Mark. So we'll introduce ourselves, I guess, to start with. My name is Andy Hawkins. I live in Filton, grew up in Filton, then moved all over to other parts of the world, and then moved back to Bristol in 2017 to look after my dad. I go to a Woodies church called the Community Church, which is based in Southmead. And then just over a year and a half ago, we moved into a new build community in Bristol called Brabazon, which is being built on the old Concorde runway, where Dad worked for 43 years, so it feels like a little bit of coming home to a certain extent. And we moved there really with the blessing of our church to try and be one of the first boots on the ground in that new housing estate. So we were house number 3 that moved in there in May in 2021. Little did we know the plans that God had in store for that community. All I can say is that it's been an amazing adventure. Of the first 40 houses that were occupied in that community, 20 were occupied by Hongkongers. In addition to the 20 that were occupied by Hong Kong, we've also got houses occupied by France, Spain, Portugal, Lithuania, Poland, Taiwan, Thailand, and India. So I'm a minority in that group. But the Hong Kong community have just been absolutely fantastic to get to know. Apart from anything else, they are just a huge amount of fun, and that is the thing that I've found extremely attractive about them. They really know how to look after each other as a community. I've started to learn how to play mahjong. It's very confusing, but I'm told that I'm not bad at it. I've learned a lot about Hong Kong cuisine, which has been interesting, to say the least. One of the things that we identified quite early on was a need for our friends to help improve their English. So pretty much within about 3 weeks of being there, we'd started some English lessons in our home and have had, on average, about 25 people per week crammed into our lounge, which has been interesting. But it's been great, and I'm not an English teacher by any means, so we just had people in and talked, and I looked at a few lessons on the internet. But more than anything else, we just use it as a time where people could build their confidence in speaking English in amongst friends. So whilst I wasn't a trained English teacher, I could tell if someone was saying something incorrectly or if they were pronouncing something incorrectly. I could help them. And also colloquialisms, there's one or two in Bristol. Isn't that right, Ron? Yeah, so we've been able to, Gary, one of my best friends, came to us one evening and said, I went to Lidl with my wife, and at the till, the lady said to me, all right, my lover. And my wife wanted to know why, that was happening. So we had to explain some of those interesting little things. But it's been great to get to know them. And through that community, I was asked in March sometime this year to help organise a community gathering in Bristol through UK Hong Kong organisation. And so in that way of organising things, I gradually learned an awful lot more. I got basically roped into it by a good friend of mine, Fermi, who said she'd organise it, and then she said, Andy, you need to help me organise it. So that's what we did.
And we're just going to show a little taster of what you organised.
Okay.
Greetings, people of Hong Kong. We welcome you to our city. I bring you greetings from Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II.
Welcome to you all to our beautiful city of Bristol.
Everyone from Hong Kong who has come with such a warm and pleasant way of interacting with all of us.
What is the number one thing that British people like to talk about?
你哋可以問下，你覺得咧 Bristol 嘅人最中意第一樣係傾啲乜嘢咧？
今日天氣咧就最好不過啦，講啦全年啊我都冇乜一個日子嘅天氣咧好過今日。
聽到沒有？慶幸當天你在球場邂逅。
Right at the heart of our Christian faith is the sense of all people being one and being united together, that we're all equal and made in the image of God. So we recognize that you are a gift to our community and our city, and we are deeply grateful for that gift.
And we just do everything we can to deal with hate crime and racism. I really want to encourage everybody here, if any of you go through any incidents at all, any issues, if you need any support around crime, around community safety, get in touch with us, because we will be there for you.
I had the pleasure of meeting many of you at City Hall just a few months ago. It's lovely to welcome the Hong Kongers to our city.
We are one family and we are together in all of this.
So we pray that you will continue to find a really warm welcome in this city, that it will become your home.
So you will bring so much to our city, and we really look forward to that. Meet us all and fall in love with us because we're in love with you.
Thank you, Mark. That was great. I didn't know that that resource was going to come out, but that was absolutely superb. So that was an event that we held on the 21st of May, and that was a little video that was made by your son. Joe made that. I didn't know that Joe was David's son at the time, but anyway, thank you, Joe. So that was a way that I really got much more involved in that community. We catered for 800 people that day. That was quite an interesting logistical challenge. We made all sorts of various different things. Mark emceed that, Candy emceed that. So there was lots of different things that were happening there. Locally, I'm pleased to announce that I'm no longer holding language lessons in my lounge for 25 people. We've been able to come up with an agreement with the developer, YTL, who are building Brabazon. They came to us and had seen what we were doing with the local community and said, what can we do to help? So we said, well, we need a community centre, but the community centre will not be built for another 2 years. It was a converted Spitfire hangar. So we said, we need some help for the next 2 years because my wife's going to go crazy if I keep inviting more and more Hongkongers to our Monday evening language groups. So they've now rented some space for us at the Aerospace Bristol Museum next door to us. They've also paid for an ESOL teacher, so we've now got a proper teacher that is actually teaching them, which is great. I've come from that this evening. There were 40 there this evening. We think we've easily got capacity for 100 or so. So those lessons are free. So if you're wanting to signpost anyone to any language lessons, then we've got capacity on Tuesday evenings between 5:30 and 6:30 at Aerospace Bristol. And it's been great for us to work with the local councillor. You saw there was an Indian guy who did a little speech there. He's the local councillor for South Gloucester. He's also put £1,000 of their local councillor grant towards funding English lessons as well. So in terms of funding teachers, maybe approach the local councillors because they've got small discretionary pots, so that might be something that's available. So that's part of our overall strategy for trying to build community at Brabazon as that community grows. So we didn't know when we went there it was going to have such a strong Hong Kong focus, but it's an amazing thing. At church, at the community church where we went, a number of Hong Kongers that came were Christians, and they said they would like to integrate into an English church, but language was a bit of a problem. So what we've done at community church is every other week, I think it's the first and third Sundays, Pastor Wei comes along as well. And when the kids go out to Sunday school, a lot of the Hong Kongers go out to have their own sermon in Cantonese. But then on the second and fourth Sunday, they stay in for the whole English thing. And I would say on average now, we're probably getting double our congregation when we've got those first and third Sundays, and we've probably got an extra 50% on the second and fourth Sundays. So that's working well, and we are trying to integrate them into church life in various different ways. So I'll let David say a little more about that. And at the Hong Kong Festival, it was great to meet you, and we were able to work together. So I'm going to hand over to you now to say a few words, but I think that's a little bit of an unpacking. So we've done various different things. It's been a blast. It's been an adventure. And yeah, if anyone wants to talk to me about how we've been able to integrate, how we've been able to help people, then Mark will send out contact details afterwards. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay. Oh, Pastor. Okay. Oh, thank you for Andy's invitation. I'm very glad I can co-work with Andy in the Friendship Festival. He is brilliant. He is a good leader and a good teacher, really. Because you do remember you teach me, not white horizon, it's the bold horizon. I remember. up to now. Yeah. Let me back to the check. I'm Candy. I work in the WebNet, West of England Baptist Network. So I'm a minister too. I came to the UK from Hong Kong just last November. I try to volume down because it's very true. Yeah, yes, okay. My main role in the WebNet, I try to cultivate, try to assist, try to channel Hong Kong families to the church, not only Baptist church. I have one photo. How about that? Yeah, you can find. One family is Community Church. Is your church? Do you remember? Fiona's one. The other is the B&A's church. Yeah, I think you may recognize them. And the other is from Baptist church, from different church. But I think it's very happy because we can meet here, even though we come from different church in the UK. But we are one in our God. No, I think in the kingdom of God, we would not just to classify on you come from which churches. But I think we are very happy. We have some family gathering together always because many Hong Kong families, if you know, many Hong Kong families like to focus on the north of Bristol. Yeah, I think so. I think maybe KOL or some YouTubers is very good promotion for this area. Honestly, when I came to the Bristol, I think the whole Bristol is great, not only the north part. I think so. Yeah. Okay, I try. Yeah, I think maybe nearly 6,000 Hong Kong people come to the Bristol. I really agree, Julian said, it's the top 5 popular cities. I think maybe the other is Birmingham, yeah, Manchester, Reading. Yeah, I know that. Maybe I'm not sure, maybe Nottingham is also very, very popular. London is too expensive for us. But I think if you know that, you have some research, you would know Hong Kong people settled in Bristol is different from other countries' Hong Kong people. In Bristol, many Hong Kong people maybe family-based, couples with young children, with some kids or something. And then more Hong Kong people in Bristol is middle class in Hong Kong. They are maybe well-educated, and then some professional. It's a little bit different from other cities, but no discrimination. For example only, just for example, maybe a little bit poor one, they would choose Birmingham. No bias. Yeah. So you can understand, but they have a lot of struggles. For example, they find a job. Maybe in Hong Kong, he was a professor in university, but he works in Tesco Extra now. Yeah, you understand? Yeah, more maybe to be a waiter or something. They have many struggles for self-image. So, and my work, I also not only cultivate them or just assist them. I should also help them to try to have some maybe counseling or to help them some emotional struggles. And Hong Kong IB is a good organization. And then UKHK is the other very good organization to help some Hong Kong people to find some resources. But I think nowadays it's different. We are not the first comers and to the UK. So I think we have a lot of network to find how to register GP, how to buy, where can I buy a mooncake or something. We can do that because we have a lot of WhatsApp group or Signal group. But at this moment, they have many struggles, not only daily life. is the well-being, maybe the emotional and spiritual. I think migration is a golden time for Hong Kong people to reflect on our life, especially our faith. I help some Hong Kong families. In Hong Kong, they are unchurched Christian, but they come to the UK or come to the Bristol. They also to try to find some churches, try to find not only the network, they have time to settle their thoughts. They have time to settle their mind, to understand who I am, why I am here. You understand? Because my English is poor. If you can understand, please let me know, okay? And I think the daily life, many organizations can help them, and then among us can teach us about English or something. Also, be honestly, some Hong Kong people, their language is not good enough. Language is our barrier, is one of our barriers. So that's why I would also channel some Hong Kong families to go to BCCC, the Bristol Chinese Christian Church. Yeah, it's also good. I think in the kingdom of God, we would not classify or to divide which church is the best one, but just trying to help them to find the suitable one, the most suitable one, and help them to grow in God. Yeah, it's my main role, and then I should also help them to do something. We have some different and small groups. Either Bible study or anything, because we have also one group is a ladies' talk. It's called ladies' talk. It's because many ladies, or women, they came to the UK. They are very puzzled because in Hong Kong, many Hong Kong families would hire domestic helper to help them to do some housework, But you know, many Hong Kong ladies come to the UK. We should wash dishes, we should cook, we should wash clothes. I remember I visited one Hong Kong family. The lady is a little bit depressed because they cry when she washed dishes, and then maybe in the night, maybe at 11 o'clock. She asked herself, why I wash dishes until now? You know, because she is a professor in the university in Hong Kong, but she just washed the dishes here. She knows, you understand, and then she missed her parents in Hong Kong. I think it's her struggle, not only her. Maybe many Hong Kong people also have this struggle, have this depressed, have this loss, because they know direction, why I come to here. So I would also help them, or we have try to help them and then go with them to find their value here and to find their direction here. I think we can do everything here. Legally, we can do everything. We should try to explore more, not only to make some barrier for us. We can do more. We can break through some problems, some difficulties. Also, lastly, but also on the other hand, also honestly, not all Britons welcome Hong Kong people. Andy and Mark are very, very nice and very kind and very patient to try to understand Hong Kong people's English. But I think some Britons cannot. I remember just a few months ago, I went to a local church, and then an old lady tried to not very politely, and then said to point to my nose and then said, Hong Kong people try to come to here to take advantages, something like that, and then ask me to help her to put a seat or to do something. I'm not sure she is a Christian or not. I'm not sure. Even though this is in the church, but I think it's not very. I think it's not very strange case. And then also my son also tried some teenagers to throw crumbs and some biscuits to her hoodies on the bus. Is bully? I'm not sure. Or the racial discrimination, I'm not sure. But I should also to help my children, also try to help them to help them to understand more. Maybe it's the culture, or it's the, which also, he is not very, very sad after this case. But it's the real case. It's the fact. But we come to here, we should try to break through these barriers. We should also immerse into this community. I think many Hong Kong people like to immerse here, like to contribute here, like to involve here. But we also understand good people or bad people also in the same country. Not only in the UK, honestly, also Hong Kong people. I think some Hong Kong people in the UK, they are also bad guys. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but is it enough? Okay. I talk too much.
That's enough. That's enough. Okay, and now I'm going to pass over to David. So David has also just moved to Brabazon, actually, so we're now neighbours as well, which is great, and he's coming along to our church as a pastor and is helping us to integrate with the Hong Kong community.
I'm Chi Wei, or David. I come with my wife last year, about April, to Bristol. I'm also BNO passport holder. When we come to Bristol, the first thing we just go to the church. When we went to the local church, we went to different local churches. And the church, finally we stay over there, is that after the service, a couple just came to us we talked with them, and then after the conversation, we just found out that we were neighbors. They just live opposite to the flat we rent over there. And so when we passed by their houses, the couple just said, why not just come to our garden for a short lunch? Because at that time, it was locked down. We can only have lunch during the garden. And so because of that lunch, and so my wife and I continue to stay with that church, that is a Tyndale Baptist Church, and we continue to stay over there. And after that, I met other church leaders around the Baptist Church, and so I helped organize English class in two Baptist church, one in Bodmead Baptist Church, the other is Tyndale Baptist Church. I would say that English class is the best way to help the Hong Kongers to integrate into the UK society. And you don't need a professional teacher. You just let them to have conversation together. And that's the best way. We just have the class and encourage the Hong Kong people. They just speak English over there. I think in writing, in reading, they have no problems at all. But in Hong Kong, for the English education, they don't have enough, space or opportunity for them to speak to each other or listening, to the English accent. And so that's why they have difficulties in reading English Bible, just like the Vicar mentioned before. And I would say that the best way that when the local church, you have maybe 10 if you have 5 or 10 Hongkongers, then you can help, to arrange English-speaking cars for them. And so you can unite them together, and also they can invite a non-believer, non-Christians, also to attend the English class. Because after the English class, afterwards, because before in Hong Kong, I also doing a lot of church research. When I came here, because I am a retired minister, and so the first thing is that I won't plant a church here. I won't start any organization here. That's because I am retired, I tell myself. But of course, there are a lot of opportunities here. And so after my reflection, I come to a conclusion. The Hong Kongers nowadays, they would go for the third path, not continue another Chinese church. Already there are a lot of Chinese church here in different cities of UK, and not starting the Hong Kong church. But I would look for integration model. And after I met some guys from the community church, then I would say that it's fun that we can have a test, a pioneer test inside the community church. And so we start in April. And so we have the service only the first and the third Sunday, and not every Sunday. That is on purpose. Why? If we continue every Sunday, it becomes another Chinese church or Hong Kong church. And so we only provide the first and third Sunday only in sermon. For the singing, we go together all in English. For the announcement, all in English. And for donation, we go to the community church. We don't have a separate account. But only because we have to cater for the needs of the Hong Kong people, the first generation. Because I find in my research, sometimes immigration church may become a hindrance for the new immigrants to integrate into the host country, because sometimes they become exclusive. We only speak Chinese, we only have a Chinese fellowship, we only have Chinese cell group, something like that. And so in this model, we only have service, but no other things. We encourage them to go for home groups. For example, my son, they go to St. Michael at Stoke Gifford, and my son, they go for the home groups over there. In my church, I have about 10 families from my church now settling in Bristol. I can start a church easily in Bristol. But on purpose, I don't do that, because I know that I'm retired. And also, if I continue a church, all the church members will look to me. That is not healthy. And so what I have been thinking is that if this model is successful, I would like to have Baptist, Methodist, Church of England, different denominations, and independent church to adopt a hybrid model. They continue their English service, but they add on, just like the Bombay Baptist Church now each month, they have a gathering of the Hong Kong people. And also, Anthony also is here. He also have an Excel gathering twice a month here around the city in the middays. And also, I know some friends, they go for the hazelnut on Sunday afternoon. They have about 10 families over there. And so I would say that now the best thing is that I know already about 10 to 15 Cantonese pastors already inside the city. We have a full supply of pastors here in Bristol from Hong Kong. And so if anybody, and I also set up a page on the Facebook. I have about 1,500 people following. And I can put on any news for any church if they have any activities for the Hong Kong people. And so I am doing the connection work, and also I give advice to different pastors and church leaders and help them how to organize or how to arrange, the best model. You can try different models to serve the Hong Kong Christians right now. And that's what I share with all of you. Thank you.
Great, just because I'm aware of time, but our panel, as you can see, have just given us a wealth of knowledge, and I know we probably have quite a few questions, particularly perhaps around ecclesiology for Pastor David, pastoral for Candy, and local church engagement with Andy. So any questions about anything that's been said there? Yep. If you use this microphone here.
Just thinking about you were talking about how the segregation sometimes isn't helpful, and how people do group together with people that are like them, don't they? We do it, everyone does it. If, say, for instance, the Hongkongers in your church kind of say, oh, can we start up a home group? Can we start up a Bible study and meet together? Is that something that is helpful, or is that something that could hinder that?
I would say that sometimes they gather together, but the gathering is only in a limited way. If they go for home groups or everything in Chinese, then that is not good for them. For example, the songs they are singing, all in English, no Chinese song. It's good because they can read the characters when the lyrics on the screen, they can read. And I also find one thing is quite good for the Church of England. Because when I attend, for example, St. Martin in the Fields in London, they have all the bulletins printing out. And you just follow the bulletin. I mean, all the prayers and all the, for the liturgy, all print out. I think it's easy for the Hongkongers to follow. I think the best way is that you have to consider during the sermon. I know some churches in Bristol, they do it in this way. The pastor, they just hand out the outline or the full script, the transcript, to the Hongkongers. And so they can follow. Before my wife, her English is not so good as mine, the pastor at Tyndale, they hand out the transcript, email to my wife. And so when she listened, she just followed the transcript. And so she can listen to the sermons. And also sometimes you have the PowerPoint with the scripture, they can follow. Sometimes I know some Hong Kong friends tell me that it's quite difficult for them because he or she doesn't know where is the scripture. For example, Leviticus. He cannot know that Leviticus is the Lei Mei Gei in Cantonese. And so he cannot match up because the title in English is quite different in Cantonese. And so I think the best way is that you have some notes or outline. If you have about 5 or 10 Hong Kong families in your congregation, you can do in this way to help them to integrate. I would say that if a church with 3 to 5 Hong Kong families, they can grow together. If there's only 1 or 2 families, it's quite difficult. For example, myself, I have only about 2 or 3 families at Tyndale Baptist Church. They are quite difficult, to grow more in number because that's a church full of elderly people over there. Of course, some of you know about Tyndale Baptist Church. But for community church, it's quite different because it's church with young children. And so you have to think about that. If your church is full of the kids and young children, then you have the potential to attract more Hong Kongers or other nationalities to go to your church.
Any other questions? Yep.
Well, 2 things slightly related. The first question is there anything that they would normally have done in their churches in Hong Kong that we don't do here, but that they would really like and expect? And on the back of that, as has been mentioned, they tend to clump together. Well, I'm sure if we were picked up and dumped in Hong Kong, we would too. But obviously, we want to try and separate them and integrate them into the whole congregation and not inadvertently drift into a situation where we have almost a church within a church. So are there any activities they particularly like which we could offer them, which would help them to integrate, and that they would feel was, very appropriate and what a church should be doing, but actually maybe in England we don't do that?
I would say that in terms of programs, it's quite difficult because I would see now there's some difficulty, you can imagine for the Hong Kong people, for example, the husband or the father, he's driving. And the wife or the lady, the mother, she doesn't drive. And the young kids, they go together with their parents. And so I would say that in this moment, for the whole family, they can only go on Sunday. If for the evening, because of the dark and also of the winter, I think for the Hong Kong families, they don't dare to go in the evening or in the cold winter. I would say for the Sunday afternoon, if you can have some local families, they just invite the Hong Kong families to go for lunch together. I think that's the best way. I would see that making friendship or connection is the best way, not programs. I don't think any programs can work the best for the Hong Kongers. But once, for example, I'm quite thankful for the couple. They invite me to the garden to have lunch together. And that's why I still stick on for the first and third Sunday, I go to community church to help. I preach over there, help organize the service. But the other Sunday, I still continue to go to Tyndale Baptist Church because I have some friends over there. They invite us for dinner, lunch, coffee, tea with the different families over there. And that's the best way. They can cultivate friendship with local people, not only with the Hong Kongers. And so for the community church, we don't have any Cantonese fellowship or Cantonese home groups. We do on purpose. Why? If we have that kind of Hong Kong small groups, they would become separate and exclusive, and that is not healthy. And I always mention to them, your big list is integration. If we are working for integration model, then we should, to cross over the language and cultural barrier.
Round of applause for our panel. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andy, David, Candy. Before we're doing good for time, just so you know. But before we invite our last guest forward, I just want to maybe offer a couple of reflections off of that. Obviously, it's been very clear what you heard, particularly from Candy and David, about ensuring that people integrate and don't go into their silos too much. And I'm very supportive of that model. I'm fourth generation British-born Chinese. But what I would say to intersect this with mental health is that you may find subsequent generations find themselves kind of caught in that place of identity of, how much am I Hong Kong, how much am I British, and so forth. So I think there's a degree of sensitivity that has to go into it, because integration can sometimes slowly drift over into assimilation, and they're very different things, aren't they? I know many of you who've done theology will be aware of the Missio Dei and how the Spirit works in and through other cultures, and so in some ways you want to be careful that you don't throw away the culture in the name of integration, but actually what you've done is done forced assimilation. So just a bit of a temperance to that, to how we do that. I did want to flag up to Mothers Union. So we've talked about connecting with families. I know we have a vibrant Mothers Union in Bristol and many of us in our parishes, but my Mothers Union in Longwell Green and also in Oldland have come alongside some of the, mostly the mothers, and as Candy shared, for a lot of mothers who've moved across, it is very difficult. It is true in Hong Kong, many of those who've come across do have domestic helpers, and so it is a shock to a system when you're changing how you do housework and childcare when you're accustomed to having help and you don't have that anymore. So if you have mother unions in your church, it's worth talking to them. And again, we heard the emphasis on youth and young people. And again, I think it came through Julian's sharing as well. Many have come across with youngsters. They want a better life. They want better liberties for their children. The other thing as well, if you do go down the route of really integrating Hong Kongers, I think one of the questions we have to ask as church leaders actually is, is there representation on our PCCs? Because it's still one thing to say you're part of our church, But again, if they're not then contributing to some of the decisions and the culture of our church at PCC level, then I think we're not getting the best from working together. Just a few reflections off of that wonderful sharing. And of course, I think we've all heard it loud and clear, English language provision, English-speaking opportunities are really good. And again, just getting to know people, inviting them for lunch and so forth, and opening up those conversations is great. But